CrowdStrike was in this massive drawdown because it was seen as AI was going to be a threat to CrowdStrike. But I was honest saying, that's the wrong way to think about it, because if you consider all these employees at these massive corporations adding Claude, ChatGPT, whatever to their computers, it makes each of those devices a risk.
You'd have to be honestly pretty dumb to say that we're not confirmed uptrend here. We're putting in higher lows and, we're obviously an all-time high. Once you start to scale down and kind of like head down to the weekly, these little things that are confirming how strong this is.
There's a lot of exciting catalysts coming up for Tesla, but it's got the Elon Musk premium.
He's not a guy that I'd want to bet against.
When you find those like disconnects between what the market's doing and reality, I'll beef up a trade if it's trending lower because I know the market is wrong and it's discounting it for the wrong reason.
Cause we pop 'em like overred and vodka. C3, okay, a millionaire. I'm a young money millionaire.
Welcome to our first show together, boys. I'm excited. We got my boy Joey Salicio here from the Stock Twits team. And I don't know if you want us to go by your real name, JFDI on Twitter. I won't dox unless you want to dox yourself, but welcome, boys. We are excited to talk stocks. And he's the new Tony now, Joey. Maybe it is the new pounding the table. We'll have to come up with a fun name for the show. But JFDI, why don't you introduce yourself? So we brought Joey on a few times. I think the audience knows him now, but if you want to quickly introduce yourself.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Name's Nick. Met Joey kind of just through Stock Twits. I hopped on Stock Twits back in 2009, 2010. So we didn't really have much of a FinTwit community quite back then, just being that it was kind of the birth of FinTwit. So anyways, I've been around the block here and there. I'm primarily a technical trader. If you follow me on Stock Twits, you'll kind of see that like pretty much 90% of my shit is looking for technical patterns, and the other 10% is me just kind of running my mouth, talking about whatever. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, you wouldn't be a true Fin Twitter if you didn't run your mouth a little bit, and you got to throw some screenshots in there as well. And Joey, for those that may be new and haven't met you before, give us a quick background on yourself.
Yes, I've been an equity analyst since 2013, trading since March 2009. Just very lucky timing there. I was previously at the Motley Fool, Market Realist, did some freelancing for Kiplinger 24/7. I've been any website that writes about stocks, I've pretty much written for them. And yeah, I'm more on the fundamental side. So what I love talking to Nick about is when he sees these technical breakouts and it's a fundamentally sound company, that's when, I'll make the position a little bit larger than usual.
Mm-hmm. And you were famous for teaching me something that I should have listened to you on. I had MSTR at 290, or you said it was like even ahead of 290. You said it's going to 290. I didn't listen. Then you told me it was going to 190. I didn't listen. Then you told me it was going to go to 90. Still didn't listen. So I'm sitting on that. So that's probably the last time we'll talk about MSTR for a while here. But what are you guys looking at right now in the markets? We were texting earlier, and I was up decent, down decent, up decent. So that's been pretty choppy. I've been doing a podcast for the past hour and a half, so haven't been looking at the markets. But where are we at right now?
I mean, I came in today kind of wanting to pound the table on the hack names. I thought both CrowdNet, Palo Alto, they were all kind of setting up, honestly, one of the most kind of basic technical patterns out there, just an A, B, C, D leg up. And anyways, that's how I came into today, was looking to pound the table on those. And I've more or less done that.
Yeah, what's weird is you're even seeing some of the smaller players in cybersecurity take off. Like I saw, I don't know, it was Wall Street, Jesus, and a bunch of other people talking about Tenable, which then I had to check. It's up 24% the past week. You even got, the serial disappointment Sentinel-1 is up 16% the last week. But then, the typical leaders, your Crowd, Palo Alto is just absolutely
Datadog.
Cloudflare. Datadog, again.
It's a shorter term momentum trade, really, especially just looking at it from where we're at right now. I feel kind of like, taking a more, let's just say, holistic top-down approach is kind of more in alignment with what I think that you're looking for when you ask me, Joey, because it's like you're kind of a longer-term investor. And it's I would imagine you're looking for, low risk kind of backfilling entries as opposed to kind of like buying in strength. Is that?
Yeah. So, and
yes and no. Oh. I mean, we to his question though, real quick, Joey. I think we bring. I mean, this is, you want the alpha, right? And so in any way, yeah. I do weekly options far more often than I should. Sure. Joey always kicks me and says, "Kiss, keep it simple, stupid, and find the stocks and let them play out," versus fighting against premiums and news that can happen in a week or so. So either direction, you guys are the new co-host of this show, and so it's your show. Yeah, let's do it.
When the trend is up go ahead.
Yeah, see, the one thing I don't like about focusing strictly on fundamentals and finding the crossover is when you see breakdowns in great companies, like the chart will be super ugly and that'll keep you away. But, Axon is a prime example, which I know you kind of flipped to liking of late because, it found its bottom and started trending upwards. But what I like is when you see this rapid multiple contraction because of software, but this was almost guilty by association in the software space. And when you find those like disconnects between what the market's doing and reality, and this is something, I don't know if you guys know Chris Camillo, but he's fantastic.
100 times on this show recently.
I love that guy because he's got the right mindset. Like if you love a company, so he loves Amazon. He loved it at 220. When it goes to 200, he's like, he goes on leverage. He beefs up his position. He said it was like 70% of his portfolio because, I'll beef up a trade if it's trending lower because I know the market is wrong and it's discounting it for the wrong reasons. Like it was calling Axon a software play. Robinhood got caught up in all the crypto meltdown. So it got down into the 70s and 60s, but whether crypto's going up or down, people are trading it. And that's Robinhood's whole thing. They make money by people doing more trading, and that's only trending upwards. More of retail's investing. The great wealth transfer is going to be huge for them. They keep launching all these new products. So that's what I love where, I take the fundamental first approach. And when the technicals actually speak like, hey, this is moving in the right direction now, that's when it's like, okay, I like to add on the way up because, it's like the old David Gardner saying, water the flower, pull the weeds. Like if it's going up, that's when I want to keep adding and enjoy that ride higher.
Mm-hmm. So, Nick, go through some of the stocks you wanted to touch on today. And if you want, I don't know if you have charts you want to show. If you hit that little plus sign at the bottom,
yeah, sure.
You can share your screen and take my ugly face to the side here if you need.
Now we showed Nick in his element.
Yeah, I mean, this is what people want. They want to get the alpha, have some very smart people justify their trades here. But nah, Joey, I think you bring up, you've taught me so much. I mean, over the years of just like, I always go back even to the All In podcast, like let your winners ride, and so I've seen it over and over again where the good stocks and I talk endlessly about my NVIDIA trade. I thought 3X was good, sold out of that early, way too early. Palantir, way too early, and just find and like when the winners just keep winning. They're gonna just keep winning. Find the best company in that space, right? So
yeah. So like Nick's gonna talk about shortly. I know he'll probably bring up. Yeah. See CrowdStrike. Now I've owned this since 2019. I've got a 1,107.09% return at the time, and like the fundamentals are strong. This thing is an absolute growth machine. I bought it because I thought it was the gold standard in cybersecurity. Now you could have made an argument for several other players, but to find a company growing as fast as it was, already free cash flow positive, and to see what it's become today, like this is just the situation of let winners run. And my original cost basis was, I think, in the 47s. I added in the upper 90s when it pulled back, I think during the COVID meltdown. So, that's a blended cost basis of 61.95. But, this is one that I almost added to during, you know, when they had that big outage and it fell into the 200s. I almost added there, but I didn't. You know, it's just one of those situations where if you've got the best in class growth stock, don't be afraid to add to it just because, you know, you're stuck on that cost basis. So I don't want to see it go up. It's like, at that point, you could look at each individual lot. Like, you know what your original return was on that one, but Nick, take it away.
Yeah, no, I think from my perspective and my point of view, it's, you know, it's really kind of taking a top-down approach. So starting with the monthly and then heading all the way down to the daily. I'm using the monthly primarily to identify like the dominant trend. You know, so if I was a long-term investor in Crowd, it's really kind of about, again, your tool belt and the kind of tips and tricks that you have to kind of build into a position. So if I'm looking at at Crowd, for instance, on the monthly time frame, like it's pretty, you'd have to be honestly pretty dumb to say that we're not in a confirmed uptrend here. You know, we're putting in higher lows, and you know, we're obviously in all-time highs here. Once you start to scale down and kind of like, you know, head down to the weekly, these little things that are confirming how strong this is. We just put in a 3 to 4 week tight on the rising, basically on the rising 10 week. That's catching up to price. I can't remember what I had. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the 5 week. And then the 10 week is trailing. You head down to the daily, and, you know, these names, Crowd is just one of them. But if you pull, you know, we can go through Crowd, Datadog, and Net. They all look, you know, it still has to kind of take out this high, but it's provided a real tight entry, both kind of in this chop here. It was kind of confirmed on Friday, which honestly, if you were coming from a fresh entry, it probably would have felt a little nerve-wracking to kind of hold it over the weekend, but you definitely got confirmation today through the 712 and then kind of into the gap here through 717. It's like just such a basic, again, on the daily, it's just such a basic pattern where it's, you know, A, B, C, and D. You can measure it out by just kind of pulling that back. That, you know, puts you at a measured move about 950 in a short term on a short term basis. So
Crowd's always been a name. Joey knows that was like one of my first big winners. I bought it in the 60s. I've never sold. And it's just like to me, it's the simplest thematic.
Also,
right?
both
like,
you guys are still sitting on this.
Yeah.
Dude, hell yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't, you know, I didn't add as much as I should have. So my percentage gains are great. The dollar amount's solid, you know, good, not great. But for me, it's the simplest thematic possible, right? It's like you find the best winner in a space that's never going to go away. Like if anything, like as AI and bots and that, you know, you're going to need more and more security, and companies can't afford not to have security. And I haven't done enough research lately on CrowdStrike, but you'd imagine that they're on top of this AI game, right? And they're finding ways to manage bots. What was the other one, Joey? ZNet or what's the one that's like really good with the bots?
The relative strength in a lot of these names relative to just, you know, the IGV was unfucking real.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So one of the cool things to kind of go back on with CrowdStrike. So if you look at this, you know, it came public 2019, 2020, grew revenues at 93%. And what I love is that it was free cash flow positive. So it only had a 4.1% margin. But for a company growing that fast to be free cash flow positive is just a major, you know, a green flag from a fundamental standpoint. And then you see it, you know, 2021 growing 81% with a 33% margin. This thing still in 2026, 22% top line at a 26% free cash flow margin. And now that free cash flow margin, I mean, it's going to get upwards, you know, into the upper 30s. So this is still a growth machine. Now, the valuation, it's never been a cheap stock, and it's pretty expensive even now. But that's why I like that you know, we have such a low cost basis that, you know, we can take the 30% swings and it not be an issue. But technically speaking, I love when, you know, it sets up and Nick's talking 900s. It's like, yeah, I'll take that all day.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nick.
No, Yeah, I don't have even a retort to that.
I was trying to find your tweet to me that said the other stocks we wanted to touch on today. This is our first time, folks. I think it's like a relationship. As we have more and more of these,
I'll add to what Avi was saying. So, I was on a podcast. We had a couple different StockTwits podcasts last year, but CrowdStrike was in this massive drawdown because it was seen as, AI was going to be a threat to CrowdStrike. But I was on this saying, that's the wrong way to think about it, because if you consider all these employees at these massive corporations adding Claude, ChatGPT, whatever to their computers, it makes each of those devices a risk to the company. Like if they put sensitive information on there that they shouldn't have, it's more of a risk. So if anything, I thought CrowdStrike and these other cybersecurity players would become more important than ever before. And that seems to be what is playing out right now. Like these companies need to be spending more on cybersecurity, not less. And something my good friend Jason Moser over at the Motley Fool would always say is, companies can't afford to not spend in this space. Like you'll never see a company that's cutting back. You'll see people cutting headcount. They could cut, they could cut marketing spend and stuff. They will not cut a cybersecurity budget, because then, a breach happens and that's not going to be good for them at all.
Yeah, I mean, even looking at my prediction with Dell was, I was like, the banks and some of these like privacy companies, they're not going to be renting from like my favorite stock at Nebius, right? They're going to be they're coming back on prem because of those same security risks, right? And at the end of the day, the thematic, this theme's never going to go away in terms of security, cybersecurity. So, what do we see? Yeah, you pulled it up. So
I mean, cybersecurity just seems like common sense to me.
Yeah.
Like Facebook changed its name to the fucking metaverse. So it's like, it just seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You pulled up Nebius, which in any red day, I said the internet's broken or something's wrong with my my portfolio, because it's just been nonstop going up. I mean, they'll have the little dips. It's probably, if I was a trader, I feel like this is one of the best stocks to trade, because it just goes up or down 5-10% a day. It feels like
the melt up trades, I find at times can be easy. I suppose, like if I'm finding myself in kind of in the flow or in the zone. Other times, melt up trades can be kind of frustrating. I think a lot of these kind of growth, high flyer, momentum, whatever you want to call them, they definitely all have a personality to them. And if you vibe with it, again, like kind of probably on a more technical side, if you vibe with it, you vibe with it. But yeah, it certainly is a pretty trend.
What are you seeing on the chart though? Like moving forward, because I did trim some and move it to Amazon, and Joey tells me to trim every day.
I don't know if there's any reason for you to necessarily sell right now. It's just kind of in a melt mode. And, right here, it's in a range. You had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, again, 5 weeks of tight closes here. It looks to me like it's ready for continuation. So I wouldn't be taking any off the table here if it was me, but.
Okay.
Yeah. See, my whole thing was, we were talking about this back at Stocktoberfest, and it was, I think it was like mid to low 90s. And my whole point was like, I wanted to put on a large position. I thought it was going closer to 200. I didn't see it going all the way to 300. So of course I have my trims along the way. So how I treat it is, I've always entered this as a trade, and I don't like to get married to my trades. So like I would essentially trim along the way and then use those profits and use that cash to then put in a very high conviction play. The ones that, Avi calls it a beach stock, the ones that you can, go to the beach, sleep well at night, not have to worry about. So that's where it's like, yeah, trim here and put this into a Robinhood, or trim here and put this into, like an Amazon, Meta, Google, even Microsoft as of last week. So yeah, it's not trimming because you think it's going to crash and go lower, go back to like the hundreds or something along those lines, but more so
just a cash
take
flow.
A successful trade and put it into that high conviction play.
Can you hit the Amazon chart actually? Because Chris Camillo and yourself, and like for me too, it's been, if you go on like the 5 year, it's like, damn, this is really not that could have invested, you know, because it's only like,
well, that's the
5%.
great part about
Yeah,
this
that's crazy.
is now you got
Right.
Amazon trading at, you know, its cheapest valuation in years. And you look at the top line growth. Yes, they're spending a ton, but it's because they have to. And I always look at Amazon like if they turned off all of that spend, I mean, this could be spewing free cash flow if they wanted to. It's just they know if they don't spend, it'd be a disservice to the company long term. And the great part about them is what they're the number 3 advertising company by revenue. It goes Google, Meta, and then Amazon now. They're talking about now selling their chips externally, which would be as large of a chip business they were saying as AMD. They've got what the largest logistics company, the largest online marketplace. Like Amazon, each individual unit is so massive that when you're talking about the sum of the parts, and that's not even mentioning AWS, like to look at their market cap as opposed to all the other market caps of players in similar spaces, I just think Amazon, I mean, this is destined for well over 300.
Yeah. What I love about it too is they're the one weakest in terms of like it's funny because everyone thinks of Amazon. If you go on the street and ask someone what Amazon is, they'll turn to the marketplace, right? Like the average consumer. And like that's the one that they make the least margins on today. But as the robotics get more involved, right? And as AI, that was what Camelo was talking about. It was like they're going to get the benefits of the AI downstream cost savings on a massive scale. And so my guess is that component of their business will continue to see better and better margins as they sadly probably retire a lot of these people working in their plants and then put robots in there that don't sleep, they don't cost benefits, they don't, you know, they're working nonstop. And they're already starting to do some of that today, but I think it's really going to start to play out. And yeah, like you said, they're number 1 in many categories, number 3 in another category. And so for me, it feels like a beach stock. And I think they're due for an explosion at some point. They have to. They've been sitting for a little bit, but this chart's looking opposite of what I'm saying. So maybe I'm wrong.
No, I love the chart. Like again, from a much larger time frame, you basically have a base on base here and a monster fucking base.
Oh, this is
this candle right here. I think so long as we close the month, like we kind of push strong into the end of the month, and you get the close here. I really like the look of this candle, and you're getting again higher lows. I know it's a much again kind of a. I would agree with you. It's a beach stock, and I think before the market overall, like really does start to top out, I think all. I mean, I really think all the mag names are basically beach stocks. I don't think you're going to necessarily outperform, but at least your money's parked in a name that goes 5x from here over the next probably 5 to what year are we? 2026. What year is it? 2026. Yeah, I mean, like ultimately, I mean, personally, I think this market is kind of topping out. 2031, 2033 is kind of where I think time wise goes. So
yeah, I mean it's
beach stock.
Yeah, I mean eventually. I mean it's been hot. We've been running hot. We had that one Friday, maybe 3 weeks ago, a month ago, that humbled a lot of us, right? Where it's just like, oh,
dude, I think last week is what humbled all of us, like everybody.
Yeah, well, I was on a bachelor party and I did not see it, and I woke up this morning. I was like, damn, I should got wrecked over on Thursday and Friday. But yeah, I mean, the market humbles you quite a bit. Just when you think, I always say it's the screenshot when you start seeing a lot of screenshots from your friends.
Oh God. Yeah.
Sell everything. And I never do, but it's always been the indicator for me. I'm like, okay, if all my friends who don't even trade stocks, often or talk about them often are sending me screenshots, I'm like, all right, that's my indicator of when to like really check yourself and trim.
I fall into the like when I want to start like showing my wife my P&L. I'm not a huge I'm
that you never do.
really adamant about not like swinging my dick on the internet because it's a pressure that I don't want, and I don't know, I've moved past that.
Yeah.
It just I don't know. I end up making poor decisions, and just as
and see, that's the thing that happened to a lot of people. Now, luckily, I had left FinTwit in like February 2021, which was just Absolute perfect timing. That's when everybody's posting all the screenshots. Everybody's launching stock picking services because they're the next great stock picker. You could
People
just
are
kind of
making
tell.
Bibles.
Yeah, you could tell the music was getting a little too loud, and it's like it feels like we were overstaying that party. And of course, we kind of got that meltdown. But that's why, everybody's almost got like PTSD from those days, and that's where, everybody's talking about Nebius in the Neo clouds right now, to where, I don't want to be the one that's kind of caught in a major drawdown. And it's like, look, we're crushing the market using stocks like this. I'm okay with, it's probably going to like match the market, maybe a little bit better than the market by going into an Amazon or some of the Mag 7, but it's more so protecting those gains and sleeping better at night. Now, I'd go back to like Google a year and a half ago or something like that. It got to where it's like 16, 17 times earnings. It was seen as the AI loser. Same what Chris Camillo was talking about with Amazon when it got, it missed on earnings or its CapEx was too high. It goes to like 199, 200 range. And he thought that was wrong. You're getting those similar situations with Meta, not so much Amazon because it is positive on the year still, but Meta's in this major drawdown essentially. Now you look at the forward multiple on that thing is incredibly inexpensive. And now you actually got Microsoft last week where it got to the same situation where it's at its cheapest valuation it's been at in years, to where, I already have a large Meta position from years ago, but Microsoft I had to add on just because I feel like you could say a lot about Copilot or anything else like that, but I've got a lot of friends that work for the government in like cybersecurity, and they're like, Microsoft Sentinel is, there's no getting away from that. It's a massive player in the space. Copilot's a lot bigger than I even thought. And then you look at Azure, and it's, Azure is going to be one of the key components of everything to do with AI because everybody needs more compute capacity. And, you just look at the growth rate on Azure, I would think it's upper 30s, and that could actually accelerate based on all this demand from LLMs, and not even talking Reddit yet. But I love the Mag 7 plays when they get beaten down and start trading at these very inexpensive valuations because, entering Microsoft at 356.89. It's like, okay, I might lose 5 to 10% more, but the upside could be 30, 40% if this just normalizes. Not even going back to its previous highs, but just going back to a reasonable multiple on this stock.
Mm-hmm. What are you seeing on this Reddit chart? I'm not a chart. I'm all heart. We're seeing higher lows though on that.
Yeah, on the larger time again, kind of back to the weekly. It's like a giant ascending triangle, which it's a bullish pattern. It implies higher prices. Price again, you got like all these tight closes on the weekly. To me, it looks like price is coiled and it's really ready to kind of rip out of here. Obviously, the overall market has to kind of cooperate. It's not gonna be breaking out if the indices are again absolutely hammered. But it looks good here. I initially had this drawn thinking it was going to build out like somewhat of a what they call kind of an island bottom. You didn't really like get an island because there wasn't much of a gap here or really anywhere except for up there, but it still looks good. And it's kind of flagging again on the short term. I've been beaten up a little bit and kind of got chopped up in here. So I don't even have Reddit on currently, but I did set alerts at, I think I set alerts at 180, and I know I had alerts at 190 as well. I think the trade really gets going through 190, but
yeah. I mean, and Joe, you can talk about this better than I can, but like we've talked about this a few times. The two major catalysts are Anthropic is not going to IPO, in my opinion, with a lawsuit still pending. So we think they're going to settle there. And then I don't know the dates on when they're renewing with, was it Mike? Who are they renewing with? Google for sure. And then Meta?
Gemini and OpenAI. Those are both for renewal over the next, I think it's over the next like 8-10 months. And those are supposed to renew significantly higher than, I think it was like 60 million a year before. I don't know. I forget. I think it's RBC or someone said they could get upwards of $500 million in their renewals. So the cool thing about that is it just goes straight to the bottom line. But even then, you're looking at this stock, it's trading at 23 times its forward earnings. and this is going to grow earnings at a 56% cap in 2026. I've just, anytime I find these hyper growth stocks trading at a discount to what I would consider a reasonable multiple, that's when I load up. And, I think I've added multiple times where the cost base is in like the 120s. But even from 2026 growing at 56, this is going to grow at 28%, 23%. Free cash flow margins are continuing to expand. It's going to push north of 40% in 2028. Like, this is an absolute free cash flow machine. A lot of marketing spend is being switched over to Reddit. They keep launching these new tools to make their ROAS more attractive to advertisers. I just love the fundamental case for this company, and that it's still relatively small compared to how big I think it could get, say 10 years from now.
How about the, I don't know if it was them hearing me talking about it, but I sent you the email I got like right after we got done talking about Reddit. I was like, damn, and advertisers, they're coming after like even SMBs and trying to get our podcast, to start advertising onto Reddit. So yeah, it's one that like it's kind of like the forgotten social media, I feel like in many ways, but it is the like if I'm looking for a new restaurant, I type in, the city I'm in, Reddit reviews, because I feel like they're still the most
really?
honest review. Yeah. Maybe it's just a weird thing I do, but I always feel like that's the most like honest reviews. And I don't know if they've done a good job of bots.
I mean, I gotta get on the Reddit train. I think I've never.
No, so during Prime Day, I did that same thing because I was looking for, like a head shaver, and I saw, all these different ones start popping up. So I was like, all right, of course they're going to show you the reviews that they want you to see. And I brought up this Reddit thread, which was just all bald dudes talking about which one. And they're like, nope. And I ended up ordering nothing because I was like, all right, I much more prefer reading honest reviews from people that aren't getting paid for it than, you never really know with those Amazon reviews and what's on there. So I always just cross-reference with what people are honestly saying on Reddit. It's like, yeah, I'm not ordering any of these. I'll stick to the razor.
I'm going to start getting ads to join that subreddit soon. The bald dudes of Reddit. Anyways, moving on. What other stocks did you hit me up on? RBRK, I think was one.
Yeah, it's kind of a more recent kind of cybersecurity play. I like it. I think it's kind of coiled, and it was kind of curling right up against the 200-day after it kind of broke out of here. Just another ABCD leg higher. I love when zooming in, zooming out. I love when short term patterns imply kind of a much larger time frame breakout. I think you get monster moves out of trades like that. So, if this plays out, it's kind of putting your measured move just within this ABCD back up to 100. Ideally, as it pushes up to 100, we get price kind of tightens up, pauses a little bit, gives some of us the opportunity to kind of leg in before it really rips out of this IPO base. But yeah, just another one on there.
Do SpaceX, because I feel like that's been obviously the most talked about stock.
Yeah.
Crazy moves up, down. I feel like most IPOs do something like this, but this one was really interesting because the multiples were insane. I did say, I think off the IPO, because everyone was saying there's no way it's worth that valuation. I was like, if everyone's saying no, it's going to pop. And then now I'm wrong, or it's starting to come down, but now popping back up.
I think you have a trade here just versus the lows, and the risk reward here is pretty easily identifiable. If it takes out lows, you're gone. If it takes off, you've got a cost basis that's down here at the low end of the range. The rest of the names in the space are looking as though they kind of bottomed out on Friday, between ASTS and Rocket Labs. I think those two are kind of the more leaders in the space, but I think there's a trade here in SpaceX. I don't have anything against it. I don't have when it comes to numbers and valuations and again all that kind of stuff. It really just it doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
So
the more interesting one with the SpaceX exposure, which now it's trending #1 on stocks, which is Tesla. Like this thing's it's having a hell of a day.
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
It feels ready to because it's look at that hold down. Yeah, so that's another one I've held on to for forever. And there's a lot of exciting catalysts coming up for Tesla, but it's got the Elon Musk premium.
He's not a guy that I'd want to bet against.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I love Tesla. I understand that it's, frustrating perhaps for a lot of real long-term bulls. But at the same time, like, dude, fuck, if you were in this thing from, most long-term guys were involved in this run. So, to see it kind of go sideways in the amount of time that it has, I think, I frustrating. Yes, should be somewhat to be expected, I think.
Yeah. But is it coiling up, do you think, for a big leg up again, or?
I think it is. I think that this is just just kind of biding its time here. I don't want to quite say beach ball or even basketball underwater. But it's putting in higher lows.
Uh-huh.
And it's going to go when it kind of wants to go. I think it's one of those names that obviously has its own it's going to do whatever the fuck it wants to do, and it's going to do it whenever it wants to do it, despite whatever the market is doing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
What pisses me off about this one, so I owned Solar City back when Tesla acquired them, and following the acquisition, I sold it, and this was 2016. It was an all stock transaction. SCTY, yeah.
SCTY,
so had I just let it convert from Solar City into Tesla shares, that thing would be up several thousand%.
Yeah.
I mean, they're due for a Cybertruck. I don't think did as well as people thought, and I think they're going to probably come back with a new one. They got Optimus coming out as well, but they're really, I mean, everyone on the street probably thinks they're a car company, and they're not. They're like an energy company, and it's fascinating, and like a lot of that stuff hasn't really fully played out to the masses quite yet, but it's coming. And you think about, I was just driving in my buddy's Tesla. Those things are still the coolest cars, in my opinion.
Dude, they are. Dude,
It's so
GP
cool.
picked me and Ben up in New York when we were out there, and the thing drove us to the airport. Dude, it was so sick.
It's
I don't
incredible.
know how you could be a hater of a
You
freaking
feel safer. It's me and my friend were talking about
Yeah.
this. Like both of our parents are like, what happens if it goes to the, but Joey, one of your stocks you talked about a lot is Lemonade did a whole research on this, as an insurance company. They wanted to, and it was clear as day that it's safer than humans.
See, I just want
more.
I just want FSC to become like the norm, to where, I've got a 10-year-old now, at least by the time all my kids are driving, because the way these kids are addicted to their devices and stuff, just staring at their phones. I mean, I even see people in their 50s and 60s just staring at their phone, driving like this. We need it more than ever, because people are just terrible drivers. They're stupid. They're all distracted. Like, I much prefer.
Yeah. Up here in the cities, I mean, like, there's so many kids that just don't even want to get their driver's license. I'd feel safer putting my kid in a self-driving Tesla cab than some random Uber driver. In fact, I don't think you can't even take an Uber if you're under 18.
Really?
Not on your own.
Interesting.
Yeah, you've got like the Uber teen accounts you can get now. But hey, that's another division of Amazon. They got Zoox, which they've got. Amazon's got their hands in everything.
I called this in college. I was drunk one night, and I remember writing it on my fraternity wall. It's like, one day we're gonna laugh that people got in car accidents, because it like what we're saying, it's actually gonna like save lives. And my kid's 2.5, so I'm not thinking about her driving yet, but it is in the back of my mind as kids are like on their phone. I'd rather see kids hunked over sleeping and having a robot driving them, because it's unbelievable. And being in the car, watching it like go in front and cross lanes, and it's just like, This thing is magical, and they're light years ahead of everyone else. I feel like in that capacity.
Dude, you're from the Twin Cities. The 35W 394 94 intersection just south there of Minneapolis is hell.
Yeah,
dude. If we were full blown autonomous, I feel like rush hour and
traffic would be way better.
Way better.
I always thought that it'd be too costly, but I thought it'd be like a cool if the highways were just moving walkways at one point. You know, it's just like, and you get off and you're off that, but like, it is crazy how that plays out. So I agree, Joey. I think eventually in 10 years, maybe 15 years from now, it'll be pretty ubiquitous to have full self-driving, technology.
One more we got to bring up is Robinhood, because that's one that I was even beefing up last week as it dipped back into the low 90s.
Yeah.
When I do a lot of shit talking, I like to joke that the 10-day EMA is a gift from God. On a shorter time frame, that 10-day exponential moving average, just for whatever reason, seems to act as kind of a backfill magnet. So from a short term, from a short time frame, whether you're day trading or swing trading, you get that pullback to the 10-day, fucking add to it. Like you may not quite bottom ticket, and then on the something that I kind of took from another guy that we shoot the shit with, when you see price kind of take out the prior day's low or kind of a pivot low, you can kind of bet that price is going to pull back to that 10-day. Obviously it took it, price took it out right here, but we put it in a gulfer on Friday on some volume, and now we're starting to see some follow through. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Joey, but it was one that was on my radar too coming into today.
Yeah, I just love this company. So that's where I look at, I've got the brokerage account. My kids all have their custodial accounts, got the IRA, got the credit card, got the bank account, everything to where.
And prediction markets. They basically are the app I wanted to create. I always said, I wish I could just take my sports betting gains, which is very rare, and just put them in. Or my initial app was, if you lose a bet, you're automatically, instead of giving it to DraftKings or something, you're forced to put that back into an investment account, and so
yeah,
there's kind of this cool feedback loop. I have a buddy, Drew. He does these predictions, and when he wins it, it's one click away from then putting it back into your investment account. On the other side, you don't want people putting their 401k money on a World Cup game, but it is cool. It's like the everything app. I mean, it's almost, it's getting to that investment, like everything app, which is amazing.
Well, that's the thing. They're becoming that finance super app. Like I can, I pay the credit card. It's got the same bank account, so it instantly does it. If I want to move cash from the bank to my brokerage, it's just instant. Like all finance just sits right there.
You think there's a world where Robinhood takes over StockTwits or some other kind of social media platform?
I mean, so I got one of the early invites to Robinhood Social, and it's pretty trash. So, it is a situation where, an acquisition makes sense. Howard, our CEO and founder, he was the first check-in Robinhood. So I know he's close to those guys. I think I love StockTwits as it is, so I'd rather it not. But for a company like Robinhood, I could see where it'd make perfect sense if they wanted to take the social side serious. The current product they have is not that, and that's the thing. Like, you've seen a lot of different social media companies try to tackle investors, and they just can't go toe to toe with what we do at StockTwits. It's just, we've got too large of a community. The platform's getting better every single day. Like, and everything Howard and team have in the works, like, no one's catching us.
Yeah. I love StockTwits for the fact that it's not Twitter. You go on Twitter and you feel like you got to put on like you're going into war almost every time you hop on Twitter. Or
you either
okay, let's invest in. I can take a break for a second, breathe.
Yeah, I don't always need to know what's going on in the world of politics or what parades are happening in what city. It's like,
I try to remind myself and keep it. I try my
just want
best
to
to just
know.
keep it separate.
Yeah,
I
want to know
at the
why
bachelor-
Tesla's surging.
At my bachelor party, it wasn't my bachelor party, but my friend's bachelor party. It was all my friends from high school, and so it was like almost like a mini reunion. And I was guilty of this during COVID. I'd be like scrolling constantly, and like in this, you know, and I was just became like obsessive. And I had this realization where my wife always reminds me, she's like my yin and yang. She's like, control what you can get. You know, I say control what you can control, but I'm like, do you not care about all this stuff? I still do it to this day, and she'll always be like, nope, I'm focused on my daughter, on you, and my family. And like at the end of the day, you know, you can only control so much. And if you're gonna go die on the hill for something, like you're dead. You know, so like make sure we have 100 years here. So just focus on your family and things that are concerning, which is it's hard for me and anyone that's doing the stock market, because you kind of have to read the news and see what's going on. But filter how much it affects your cortisol levels. I'll say that.
Yeah, 100%.
Joey, is there and I'm usually on the hook for this, so next week I will bring a mini monster, but is there anything that you're watching that's like and this could be for you too, you guys have like an asymmetric bet that you're looking at right now that not a lot of people are maybe talking about yet, or and you don't need you can say you either bought it or you didn't, but something maybe you're watching as a potential mini monster? This was live,
you know,
too, so don't feel obligated if you don't have one.
No, so I mean, in this type of market, I'm not really looking for, you know, the tiny company that could 10x in a year. I feel like a lot of that is past us. Kind of like, yeah, you know, finding the Nebius at 90 and it runs to 250, wherever it is now. I feel like a lot of that has already been sucked out of the market. Some of the plays I'm looking at is, you know, like the Nebiuses, kind of like the data center plays that have not been working out of late. So like Oracle falling under 150 today. I mean, it's just been a bloodbath over the last 2 weeks now. Same with CoreWeave. So like those are two data center specific plays that I was looking at that have not been keeping up with the pack, that are now CoreWeave does have a pretty solid debt load, so it's not ideal. And same with Oracle. You know, they've taken on a lot of debt because they have this massive build out coming, but that backlog is massive, to where if they figure it out and they do everything right, like I feel like Oracle might be one of those very attractive plays that I would almost regret not buying under 150, say a year from now.
They're a friend of the Trumps as well, right? We were talking about the Trump trades.
Yeah, they got what, Stargate or whatever, that $500 billion investment with SoftBank, Oracle, and OpenAI. Larry Ellison is quite close with the White House, and I think that also played a major role in the whole Netflix, Paramount, Skydance debacle that happened.
Yeah. Can you pull up Cisco? What are your thoughts on Cisco? These are all kind of like the Oracles, the Ciscos of the world.
Cisco,
how's that
right?
I got a 12/16 call option on that. So for December.
I mean, you could call it a high tight flag. You could call it a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks of tight weekly closes. When I refer to the weekly close, it's what I call kind of more of like napkin technicals, where it's just you've got to identify the close, and it's kind of a sloppy looking bull flag, right? But price is high and tight. It looks to me, it looks ripe for continuation. I think kind of same idea to the hack trades I suggested, just taking an A, B, C, you know, that puts your measured move, at least in the near term, at 160, pending you get the breakout here. But with how tight you got these weekly closes, that's showing the kind of the institutional involvement here and the underlying strength. So, you know, if you're not in this, you could use last week's candle as kind of your entry, either versus the low, through the high. You know, if you want to be real conservative and kind of wait until 127 gets taken out. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to kind of play it, but yeah, it looks great.
Yeah. You know, one that I saw you post on StockTwits earlier, and I responded with the funny GIF with the toast with the butter.
Oh yeah, dude,
is
it trades like shit though. God damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
The growth is always impressive. I mean, I go to a bunch of different restaurants. Whenever I see like the Toast Terminal come over for me to pay, I always think, oh, let's look at the stock. And yeah, it's never. It had that massive run from like 14 to 48, and then it just came crashing back down. The payment space is just so tough. Like you look Shift4, PayPal, all these different like niche players within payments just never seem to work out. But this is one I'm always watching. So that's when I saw you post it, I was like, all right, let's ask him about it.
I was involved. I don't really remember where. I did decently well with it. I mean, ultimately I got chopped out. It was the reason it kind of popped up on the radar was I'm pretty sure it was, everybody was kind of obsessed with Druck at the time, myself included. And I want to say it was kind of in this area, if I had to, I don't know, guess, but it put in kind of a big stage 1 base. And when you had this descending channel, that's just kind of a slow drift, slow grind, kind of back. I wouldn't really want to see price kind of revert too much into the base or into the range, but from where it's sitting currently, you'd have to have some conviction, I think, to kind of play this, because there's better looking setups out there. Take your pick from anything that we kind of discussed. I pay attention to it just because I've traded it, but not because I want to necessarily get involved. Wake me up over 30.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like an intent. Like we live in such an attention economy right now, and I feel like who gets excited about
ripping, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like you're even seeing with Cerberus right now, because apparently, I know it's Sam Altman or someone. Yeah, CBRS. I made that mistake. CRBS. They made this ticker wrong. But
ticker matters, Joey. I always said,
yeah, CBRS, Cerberus. It's Cerberus would make sense for this one. But I think if Sam Altman was talking about, one of the next iterations of ChatGPT will have this specific speed, and the speed he said would only be Cerberus chips if that played out. So I think that's what the hype is today. But to see it go from 160 and quickly, I mean, I was looking at this as it was about to break 200 earlier. I was like, oh, I should throw a trade on, and then I didn't. Next thing I checked, it was like 6. Yeah. Next thing I checked, it was 216. But
maybe that's the name of the podcast we go with, the Hindsight Capital. We got to think of a fun.
Yeah.
I always wanted to create.
Well, it was the time. It was the timing of it. If we would have gone on pre-market, we would have had the same name. So
yeah. It is. Yeah, if you started a fund where you get mulligans. We were doing a lot of golf this weekend, and I was like, we should do this an investment, a breakfast bowl.
I mean, hey, in Cerberus, like you have the entry here at 196, 200, reclaiming this pivot low. Just another it's not to say like if we get some backfill towards 200, just take the entry, later this week, or chances are we're gonna get some kind of fuckery tomorrow. It's a Tuesday, so after a strong Monday, so. I don't think people should feel obligated to chase. I think if you can identify that, 195, 200 was a solid entry, just throw your alert there. And if you get the backfill, take the entry, take the entry. So
what, are you trading like weeklies mostly, or are you doing
pure equity? I don't mess with options whatsoever. Yeah.
Gotcha. Smart man.
I mean, how I kind of got my start, prop trading, like I don't know, risk has kind of been beaten into me, and I've kind of come into my own as far as like my style and strategy. So I just don't really feel the necessary to kind of fuck with it too much. I do think that there's a room in what I do for options. I don't know. I'm not there yet.
I'll say it for myself.
See, it just takes so much thinking.
Yeah. And you're fighting premium, you're fighting too much shit, if you are.
Yeah. If I see something I like, and it's like, okay, I want to put this on, but then I got to go research. Okay, now what options play do I want to make? It's just all these added steps, and I've never had great success in options to where it's like it follows the KISS method. Just keep it simple, stupid. Like if you like this company, buy it, and then you don't have all the other additional risk that comes with options. Like if I think Amazon's going over 300, but I pick the wrong options, the wrong strike, the wrong miss, it could not. It could just be a waste of cash.
Did you know that Not 40 anymore guy on StockTwits?
I don't.
Dude, you should look him up just when you have a second. So fucking crabby all the time. And he'd come on the StockTwits and basically just troll anybody that was day trading. Anybody that was day trading or dooming, he would just perpetually get into arguments. And a big thing that I took away from him was, you know, the idea between dollar cost averaging and the ability to sell options at, you know, a later date. Like you guys are in crowd, for instance, right? Like just to go sell options against your position. It's like, are any of these degenerates letting these positions these contracts get called? I don't think so. So it's just like, basically, you know, the way the internet goes, dooming gets all the attention. So if you're in a huge crowd position and you're just selling, I don't know what, I can't remember the technical name of the option contract, but like, dude, you know how many dudes on the internet were fighting this whole probably whole breakout, considering the IGV was getting smoked? I just, it was something that I took away from him, and for you being on there, I think you should look him up sometime. He hasn't been on forever, but I don't know why.
It is fun. I went to your StockTwits, and Stocktoberfest is going to be in New York this week, you said, or this year?
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, you gonna come, or you should come?
Yeah,
hang
I'm
out.
gonna come, and maybe we do even a live. I don't know if we'll have time to do like a live show from it, but that'd be kind of fun.
Dude, yeah, let's do it.
Because that, it's just fun. You meet all the people in real life, and they all have these like crazy, you know, handles that they hide behind their computers, and then you meet them in real life. Some are cool, some are weirdos, you know, but it's fun.
I'll try to get Chris Camillo to come on. Be like, hey, just talk to us about Amazon and just
Is he
fanboy.
coming to Stocktoberfest?
He was like the main one I was hitting Howard. I was like, make sure he comes back because his panel this past Oktoberfest was one of my favorite.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a super sharp guy and very like logical. He went on that. I think I talked about it 100 times on this podcast, but like the one he was just on maybe a month ago with the iced coffee.
Oh yeah, iced coffee. Yeah, I watched that one. He talked Amazon, Robinhood, and some other ones. So yeah, that was a good one.
Love it. Well, we've set aside an hour here, so we'll wrap this up here. But hopefully we make this a weekly thing. This was fun. We'll make sure it's a little smoother next time too, and maybe have some fun segments that we can put in. We'll do like a mini monster that I can come in, try to pitch you guys on. You'll check out the charts, JFDI. Joey will come in and tell me if I'm right or wrong here. But that's fun, and then we can think of some other cool segments, and we'll think of a name. Hindsight Capital is the leading name right now.
Yeah, all right.
So, anyways, have a great week, everyone. We are going to be back here tomorrow. I have Will Reeves, who's the CEO of Fold, which is a public company. Let's maybe throw that chart up there too. And then a friend of mine is creating a really great app called Get Chump. And I was like, this is so cool. I'll actually bring it on the podcast, but it's he didn't want to fight the app system, especially right now. What's happening to try to get onto like the Apple App Store, it's near impossible because everyone's vibe coding everything, and they're probably doing the smart thing of like making sure that these apps are secure and whatnot. So he went straight to text, and his whole thing is plugging in with your credit cards. And I have this issue. You swipe so much throughout the day, especially I was telling him with my Apple Pay. Before you're spending all this money. It's so you never think about it. So it goes through at the end of the day, and it gives you a report basically on your text of like everything you spent, where you spent it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm bringing him on, and then our boy Problem Sniper, great options trader. So if you ever do options, I kind of just stick to what he shares with me. But
yeah, he's a freak. I love that guy.
He's amazing. Very humble. He's got very interesting friends. He hangs with a different level of crew. He's like, my friend made 100 million, and I'm like, oh shit, I need new friends. Anyway,
his thing is, he's got his system. He sticks to it and doesn't go out of it.
There's days he just I don't see anything, and he won't trade, and that's
I like that. You never force it. It's like some days you just sit on your hands, do nothing.
I love it. All right, boys. First episode. in the books. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll be back next week.
Cause we pop 'em like overred and vodka. C3, okay, a millionaire.